Thank you for joining us today in episode 86 of the Pool Chasers podcast. As always, our mission is to help educate and inspire in the form of a podcast. Real quick before we jump into the episode, I wanted to remind you that we have one stop left on our live tour. That's going to be in Long Beach, California on March 12th at 9:30 p.m. It's right after the first night of the show. We are going to have a great discussion about independent contractors and employees. We know this is a hot topic right now, especially in California, and something many people have questions about, so you don't want to miss it. Now, for this episode, we sat down with Dave and Matt from Riptide Pool Vacuum Systems. This interview was really fun because we got to hear the passion that these two have for their company. Sitting across from them as they explained how an idea turned into the product was truly special. You can tell that they have poured so much into creating a product that has definitely changed the market. During the episode, we go over Riptide in full detail, from what they are and how to use them if you're a beginner, to each detail they have designed to make it easier on more advanced users. By embracing feedback from customers, they have taken their original prototype and shaped it over the years to provide the best customer experience possible. We promise that you've never heard their story told like this before. Make sure to stay tuned until the end for a special discount code. Please enjoy David Sargent and Matt Lopez of Riptide Pool Vacuum Systems. Welcome to your go-to podcast for the pool and spa industry. My name is Tyler Rasmussen.
And my name is Greg Villafania. And this is the Pool Chasers podcast.
All right, well, thank you both for joining us today and, also for becoming sponsors in the show. We really appreciate you guys coming, taking the time to record with us while we're here at the Everything Under the Sun Expo, and you guys are here as well. So thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us. We appreciate it. I'm excited to be on the show.
And we appreciate the professionalism you guys are bringing into the industry. And we've had a lot of customers reach out or tell us that they appreciate what you guys are doing. You're bringing some great content to them. You're helping them with problem solving, and that's a big deal for these guys. They appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. Can you introduce yourselves to listeners?
I'm David. I'm the president of Riptide. I came to know the product and the need for the product in 1998 when I moved to Florida. And my wife was using a competitor's brand, and I just got familiar with the product at that time. I had never been exposed to it when I was living up in Massachusetts, and came to realize there was a need for some more options out there. So we endeavored to build a machine that would be what I consider to be true commercial quality, something that would stand up to the rigors of the industry.
And I'm Matt Lopez, Vice President of Riptide Pool Vacuums. I got involved because I've worked with Dave pretty much since I was 18? Now I'm going to be 34. I've known you entirely too long.
Oh, you're getting old.
Do you guys get this a lot, the father-son?
Oh my God, I hate it.
Everybody
I get it
says it.
I feel like
You
I get
probably
it every
told
day of my
us
life.
2 or 3 times,
Yeah.
and I'm like, so is he bringing his son? He's like, it's not his son. I'm like, oh shit.
Well,
I'm sorry.
For anybody that's ever met Dave, he's got, he's tall, he's got gray hair. So I said, the moment my hair turns gray, I am going to a hair salon. I'm like, dye it back. I don't care what color, just dye it. I can't.
That's so
do it.
funny.
Oh, that's awesome. So we want to learn more about our guests, and that's kind of what we try to do is dive a little bit deeper so that they can get to know you guys. So let's start with you, Dave. Where did you kind of grow up? And
That's where I was from, Massachusetts, moved to Florida in 98.
He grew up on a farm.
On a farm. And
That's why Dave finds everything interesting, because he grew up on a farm.
did you?
Is that true?
That's true.
Do you find everything interesting?
Don't listen to his stories.
Tell us a good farm story.
No, it's not farm stories.
I think what I mean when Dave finds everything interesting, so he's a product designer. That's what he does. So he's always going around wherever you go, and he'll just touch different things.
I know where he's going with this.
I remember, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, we were at the pool show, the international show in New Orleans, and we're walking down Bourbon Street, which anybody that's ever walked down Bourbon Street, I think there's one simple rule: don't touch anything. Well,
Don't talk to anybody.
don't talk to anybody, don't touch anything, especially. So there's, it's like an old lamppost or something. I don't know. It looked
That was probably a 200-year-old lamppost. This thing was cool.
it looked
Easily.
about 200 years old. It probably was only 20 years old. I don't know. So Dave's like touching it, knocks on it. And he's like, feeling. I'm like, Dave, I'm like looking at him in disgust. I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I'm interested in it. It's old. It's interesting. And it's like, they don't build stuff like this anymore. I'm like, yeah, your hand's not going to be on your body anymore.
He was ready to sever my hand right there.
I don't make things like this anymore.
So I guess that's
break.
That's what I mean when I say Dave finds everything, interesting. He's very. Whenever you're out with Dave, he's always looking at things and like, how did they build that? What did they, what goes into that? What's the processes behind that? That's the way his brain works, which
And that's a
isn't
good
the way
thing.
mine. Yeah, it is. That my brain doesn't work in that capacity at all.
It's really cool if you're an inventor though, or designer. I'm sure.
And that's really how Matt and I hooked up, was because that's the way I look at things. That's the way I do things, which is totally different than Matt's realm, where he's great with computers and great with all this digital age. And so it's a good complement. It really works well together. You get the old timer that is more into the physical world, and he does that digital side.
You
of
can
things.
say the word.
Millennial.
It ggets said on every show, so might as well keep the tradition going.
Does it really?
Oh yeah.
A lot of them for sure.
He's fighting back with he calls me boomer all the time
Yeah.
now,
That's awesome.
constantly.
So what did your parents do? I mean, you grew up.
My parents, my father was an over-the-road trucker. My mother was stay-home mom,
Yeah.
which was pretty common back then.
Yeah. So you grew up on a farm.
Grew up on a farm in Merrimack, Massachusetts.
Tinkering with things a lot.
It's funny because you don't realize it when you're doing it, when you're living it, right? But when I look at the way the world is today, then that's definitely what I did a lot of. A lot of welding, even as a young kid, just building things. From go-karts to crazy things that didn't work half the time and you got scrapped. But when you realize now that it was definitely formative years where you just learned to put things together.
Right. And why did you move to Florida from Massachusetts?
I just figured there was no sense waiting to retire and get in some warm weather. Might as well get it done.
Sure. That's awesome.
How about you, Matt? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Lake Worth, Florida, which is Palm Beach County. Kind of a little rough area if anybody knows it. Lived in South Florida my whole life. Definitely never moving. Love it down here. I consider myself one of the rare Florida natives that was born here, raised here, never left, don't plan to leave.
But you moved away from that town.
Yeah, not far away.
What a Florida native.
Not far away, but
That's the same in Arizona. Nobody's from Arizona.
yeah.
No.
Us three live there. None of us are from Arizona.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
When you find an Arizona native, it's pretty unusual.
Yeah.
Still?
You know? Yeah, still.
Oh, yeah.
And they're the only Cardinals or Suns fans that are alive.
In Florida, it's becoming a place that you're actually from, which
Yeah.
is kind of an interesting change.
That's cool.
I guess just nobody in my age range.
So how did you guys, you talked about it a little bit, how did you guys meet and start this together?
We worked with another company, and really we worked side by side, really just like we do now, and decided that was a good direction to take things when I was going to endeavor to do my own thing. And I just approached him, asked him if he'd be interested in coming in and filling that digital side of things. These days, it's so important. What you guys do is so important. It used to be all advertisement was just impersonal, considered to be professional advertisement. Today, it's regular people talking about real things that need to be shared with people. And it's more real content, real information getting put out there that way. And somebody has to be capable of it, and I'm not.
Yeah, I've worked with Dave since I was 18, and I'm turning 34 this year, so quite a long time. We worked really well together. Yeah, 34. It's like,
I don't know what it is about that number. I'm just like, damn.
because it's almost 35, and which is almost 40, which is almost 50.
Almost dead, yeah.
I know. That's what I feel. I'm like, God, I don't want to die.
Sorry, we got deep real quick. All right, let's go back.
You guys are making me
No,
cry.
let's rewind. It's not that type of podcast.
Making Dave feel
I don't
sad
think-
over here.
Oh, yeah, Dave's already got one leg in the grave. But yeah, so I've worked with him. You know, I can't do the math in my head, but what is that, like 14 years or something like that?
Over
16
10 years.
Yeah, over 10 years. That's all that matters. We work really good, you know, with each other. We have our arguments, we have our battles, but I think that's going to be...
But we're getting better about that.
Yeah, we're getting better about that. I don't know what's changed, but
I would think
let's
developing
see
a
it.
new product, that would be a little bit tricky because you might have different opinions on
Well, we're
how
very-
this is going to work.
You know,
and-
when we do have, you know, our arguments or anything like that, it's all, we're very both logic based. You know, if
That's
you have
good.
an idea for something, you know, tell me why, explain why. Maybe we'll yell as we're explaining. I don't know sometimes, but no, it's we're fact based. You know, present your reasons why you feel that way, and we don't take anything personal. You know, maybe we have an argument about, you know, what direction we should do or whatever. But it's not personal. It's not like I'm like holding a
that's,
grudge.
Yeah, that's what it really all has
Yeah.
to come down to is fact seeking.
It's
You
'cause
gotta, but you got to pry that information out sometimes.
And I think it stems from that because we're very passionate about what we do. We love what we do, so we both, you know, feel strongly that we want the best for the company.
it's kind of interesting too that we are passionate about it because I haven't really been passionate about anything in my life, and now I'm actually loving what I do. I love designing products. I love when we encounter a problem with a product. It's actually
Solution
awesome to
finding.
sit down and just beat it up until we actually get to a solution. And you know, sometimes it's almost crazy that you don't see that to begin with. But then you have to take a step back and say, well, the industry never figured that out before anyway. So maybe we feel silly that we didn't know when we put the first product out. And we develop it and we figure it out as time goes on. It sometimes seems so obvious after you figure it out, I guess is what I'm saying.
So how did the partnership work? You guys are working at the same company together, and I'm assuming while you're working there, you've developed sort of a prototype of this vacuum, correct?
I had it all designed. I do all 3D modeling, and we bought a 3D printer and started running some great prototypes of it, and confirmed the product design and at least the core of what it was going to be. Of course, it's extremely expensive to get into a new product that has lots of different molds to be made and lots of unknowns. You think you're on a good path, but you're not sure. You never can be sure. So you have to put your money where your mouth is. It's very scary to start with.
Yeah, very scary. A lot of ramen noodles when you're starting out.
And I'm sure you're counting on him to know this stuff and get it figured out where you're working together, but being on the digital sort of marketing side.
So, you know, I handle a lot of the marketing, a lot of the everything, the day-to-day business, how we operate, everything like that. I'm not a product designer at heart. You know, I've got, you know, ideas for something maybe, but I can't design it on the computer. You know, I watch Dave, you know, work in CAD on the computer and he's doing all this modeling. I'm like, you know, my mind is like blown away. I'm like, I don't understand. Or he'll be trying to explain something sometimes and I'm just shaking my head. I'm like, yeah, I think I understand. But I'll wait till we get the prototype so I can actually see, because I'm more of a visual learner where I have to actually see it, maybe hold it or touch it in my hands and do it.
Right.
Whereas Dave's just pulling ideas out of his brain and I'm like, wow, that's pretty impressive.
But it is interesting, though, to realize human beings have a desire to spend their time with people more like themselves. And that's something you have to get over in business. You need people that complement your weak side. There's no sense linking up with people that just overlap with what you're capable of.
Yeah, I think I tell Dave all the time, I will never hire like a yes man. I don't want the yes man. I don't want somebody to come to me and be like, yeah, whatever you say. No, I'm not right. I'm human. I'm imperfect. You're imperfect. Everybody's imperfect. Challenge me, you know, bring your own ideas to the table. We listen.
Yeah.
And I think that's why me and Dave, you know, respect each other so much, because he knows I got plenty of opinions and I'm not afraid to tell him, and he's got opinions and he's not afraid to tell me.
And
And
some
I
of them are
respect him for
stupid.
that. All right there, Dave.
Well, I mean, that's a lot of stupid ideas and a lot of good ideas. I mean, we do the same thing,
Really?
bounce ideas off of one another because, one person may have some concept in their head, don't have any idea whether it will work, but think it's a cool idea. And the other person's like, yeah, that's the worst idea I've ever heard.
We've had
it's a really awesome idea.
Our own line of, product failures where we've actually, when we first launched, we had our Riptide was originally, a big cart, had a cord reel on it, was this monstrosity that we tried to put in the back of our brains because it was big and heavy and bulky.
And it's more for like commercial pools,
overly complex.
Overly complicated.
Originally it was not really intended to be for commercial pools. We just thought it was going to be the everything, and quickly learned that we were just off base. The cart was wrong, so redesigned, and the SL model was born, and that one's incredibly popular. It's incredibly robust. It is everything it needs to be, really.
And we cut up, the frames of the old original, cart because we didn't want to sell them anymore. But that was an expensive decision to make. We said we don't want to take and confuse our customers. Let's cut them up, salvage the parts that we need, that we could take off them, the vacuum heads, all the shared components.
Some people just had a bigger is better mentality. So, no matter what we told them, they just wanted that product. But then we'd ask them, are you going to pull it through grass? Because the big one was great for commercial pools, as long as you weren't leaving concrete, because they would load it with 2 jugs of chlorine, the biggest battery you could possibly put in a car, all kinds of other things. I mean, they could be toting 200, 300 pounds of stuff along with the machine itself. And then, of course, you hit grass, and it's going to be ridiculous pulling it through it.
Yeah, in a perfect world, there's just a concrete path right where you need to go.
Yeah, with 2 or 3 feet of clearance.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But, I remember an interesting quote that I told Dave one time because it applied to that first, Riptide that we made. It was, if you're not embarrassed by your first product, you've launched too late. You got to start somewhere. You got to learn. You got to just do it. I guess you got to start somewhere.
But fortunately, we had already endeavored and created the SL before we even really kicked off sales.
Yeah.
So we were already on that path. We already knew that we had to do that it was the right thing to do because of feedback we got when we started exposing the original cart. So immediately some people said, I think they were amazed by the quality of it and the ingenuity of it. But in the end, they said, it's too big for me. It's just too hard to get in. It's not maneuverable enough. It's whatever the case may be. And that's a tough thing to say and accept because you just think it's the greatest thing. It's like your child.
Because it was his baby.
And
it's tough.
So but the reality is these people said it, and we sat back and we talked about it. We said, you know what? They're right. They're just plain right. Let's just go ahead and face that fact. So we originally thought we were going to run the two of them in parallel, and that's what we mean by when Matt says that we were causing confusion. So people would call us, and they would actually be leaning towards the big cart just because they had the bigger is better mentality, and we knew it was not the cart for them. So in some cases, we would adamantly push them towards the smaller one, but we would end up confusing them so much that they would hang up without even making a purchase. They called just to make the purchase. So the reality quickly exposed itself that we were just off base. We just needed to focus on the right cart for the right job and focus on it, period.
Right. So there are currently 2 versions. Can you tell us about each one and which scenarios they're best used in?
Well, interestingly enough, so it's actually the same exact vacuum head with both versions. One has the cart and the transport rack included with it. The other one is just a battery box that you carry with the vacuum head. And those are 2 distinctly different units. However, a lot of people go ahead and get the SL cart unit, and then they just get a battery box also, because when you do have a few problem yards where you can't get a car into it, it allows them to grab the battery box, take the head off the car, and just take that unit in with them.
Right. So say you're brand new to the industry, and this is a perfect question coming from us because we were very close to purchasing these for our team, because there's a lot of times when, the monsoons would hit the pools or something would happen. They're doing a remodel in a backyard, putting in some new trees, taking out old tree, whatever it may be. And we're like, dude, we need something like this to really help us out. So can you explain this to us and the listeners that don't have any idea, about the portable vacuums, like what it is exactly and how how they work and who they're best for?
Yeah, and that's actually a great topic because there's a lot of people with the frame of mind that these things are just for removing real heavy debris. And the reality is, especially in the Florida market, it's used for every pool every day. Nobody would go to work and vacuum with a system vac. It has a tremendous amount of benefits. It's, to start with, you're not even priming hoses. You are not down on your knees. Everything's ergonomic. You're standing up.
You're not running all the water back through the filter and getting all that debris in your filter, so less filter cleaning.
Far less filter cleaning.
Which everybody hates.
So you're not priming the hose, you're not cleaning your filters anywhere near as often, maybe once a month instead of once a week. Whereas, I mean, if you run a vacuum line into it, you got to clean that filter. So you eliminate that problem. You can literally take, in many cases, what would be an hour-long job and turn it into a 10 or 15-minute job. I mean, it's just a huge difference. Once a person does start using a powered vacuum, a Riptide, they cannot ever go back to not using it because you become so much more productive that there's no way possible to get through your day without your machine.
I would say we get, at least one email or call a week from a customer that bought it, used it for maybe it was just a day or maybe it was a couple of days, thanking us, because how much it actually transformed their job. I've had companies that have gone from 2 guys cleaning a pool down to just they're able to send 1 guy. Or, they were taking, pools that were taking 50 minutes or an hour, and now they're doing it in 15, 20 minutes. So it's a true time saver.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We want to thank Pentair for supporting the show. As a podcast for pool professionals, we know that when you sell products, it's your reputation on the line. And when they are Pentair products, it's theirs as well. That's why Pentair's got your back with their trade grade program, which supports your business and reputation by offering exclusive tools and support for lead generation, attractive product rebates and longer warranties, and an unmatched expertise when it comes to accurate equipment selection, setup, and service. So to learn more about how trade grade protects, empowers, and helps your business grow, visit pentair.com/trade grade. That's pentair.com/trade grade, or click the link below.
So let's start from the beginning. Say I were to call you guys or buy one online and it arrived at our shop. What happens next? Are we putting some kind of deal on the back of the truck? So that you guys have a rack that comes with it, right?
Yeah. So if you get the SL model, which has the cart and the hitch mount and the vacuum, the rack that comes with it will go into any 2-inch receiver. So it's just going to, slide right in the back of your receiver. You're going to put your cart together, which is about 8 bolts and a couple set screws.
Are you positive? I'm not getting into IKEA situation over here.
I don't think it's an IKEA situation.
Last night, I put a grill together last night, and I was like, oh my God, this thing is a lot of pieces. And
I could tell it was still in your garage in pieces this morning.
But it was 99% there.
So sad. It gets put together and it's like nothing. It's like, that's what took you 5 hours to build?
Yeah.
A grill. I was like, oh man, I can't believe, because the Riptide honestly is incredibly simple. There's literally just, you put on the axle, you put on the battery pads and the handlebar, and that's it.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, it ships incredibly cost effectively. That was a big part of our design effort, was to be sure that these things would break down, go into a box of a reasonable size. Yeah, it's oversized for shipping, but it's very much within the realm of reality for UPS to carry. And we can ship it anywhere in the country for no more than $65.
Yeah, and wow. to touch back on your original question, so you get it, you're going to put it together, which isn't really that hard. I estimate, first time doing it, it's probably 40 minutes, maybe a little bit longer. Everything depends on how handy you are with tools, right? You're going to buy a battery. You have to buy your own battery. It's just a deep cycle marine battery. Very common batteries are sold in Costco, Walmart, AutoZone.
Oh, most of those places have it?
Yeah, okay. They sell the battery. That way it's local and you get your own, your battery warranty locally.
Right.
Plus,
is that what your customers have said? I know you're in Florida. There's a lot more boats and stuff like that, so it would make sense for
anywhere, because it's still going to be like an RV battery.
Oh, okay.
So deep cycle batteries, jet skis, or even your little. They're definitely sold everywhere. It's very common. So you're going to buy your battery. You're going to put your battery in it, charge it up, obviously, with just a 12-volt car battery charger, basically.
What's
and
the reason that they don't come
working.
with the batteries? Just curious.
The batteries themselves are very heavy, first of all.
Yeah, for shipping reasons. One, you can't ship a lead-acid battery, UPS.
But a battery is something that it goes through incredible amount of duty cycles because these guys are using it, charging it and discharging it every single day.
So batteries are lasting a year to 2 years.
Yeah, if you get a typical run-of-the-mill battery, you're talking replacing it annually probably. Maybe 18 months is probably the average. And if you spend, $300-400 for a battery, I see people getting multiple years out of them. But most people just go for that run-of-the-mill battery. But so there's no sense in us including a battery with it. Besides that, it ships as hazardous waste or hazardous materials, and it would just complicate life a lot.
And it's better that it's warranted locally. So you have a problem with a battery, which is pretty common actually. You just run down to your shop, get a new battery. They warranty it, just like your car,
Right.
and you're back up and running.
Very good. And is there, so you got it all hooked up, you go to the first pool and you want to take this thing into the backyard. I've seen some videos that people can watch on how you take it off. So what is the next step once you wheel this
You get to the pool, you're going to take the power plug. You're going to plug the power cord into the front of the unit. You're going to hook your pole up, put your bag on. Actually, you're not going to put your pole on. You're going to put the bag on, toss the cable in, hook your pole up, flip the switch, and you're vacuuming within 30 seconds.
And I know you guys have different like micron bags. Do you recommend one bag or the other depending on what's going on in the pool?
Absolutely. So, we have our coarser bags, which are for your leaves or your heavy pickup. You come in, the pool's just dumped with leaves. You'd want to use that because the bag's stronger.
Bag's stronger. It also allows more water to go through the bag quickly, so you get the flow to capture the big stuff, and you don't really want to slow down that debris travel as it's going through the water.
Is it bigger too?
No, it's actually the same size.
Same size. Okay.
We did experiment with larger bags, but nobody seemed to like bags. At a certain point, it's just cumbersome and pain in the neck. So we went down. Everybody seems to like the size as it is now. But when we ship a Riptide, it comes with a 100 micron bag, which is actually a pretty fine bag. For the industry, it would typically be considered a fine or very fine bag. We developed a ring that our bag is sewn onto, and it snaps onto the machine in a manner it's impossible for it to blow off. That said, that would allow us to run, even something that didn't allow any water through it, a plastic bag on there. Of course, it won't vacuum at that point, though. Once a bag plugs, it does not vacuum. So, but the bag ring itself, the industry has always had a problem with bags blowing off these machines. It drives people absolutely nuts because it happens at the worst possible moment. After you already cleaned the pool, it's got maximum pressure on the inside of that bag, and all of a sudden it just blows off, and you're starting all over again.
You're not even starting all over again because all that debris
it's all
in the water column.
Yeah,
suspension.
Yeah. Suspension.
Yeah. You're gonna have to just go back.
That absolutely drives people bonkers. So we developed this ring. It was a very important part of the design of this thing. And it's been incredibly positive, really, really a great thing. But it does allow us to run any micron bag that we want to with respect to the fact that it won't blow off. That said, you still have to choose the right micron bag based on your debris because you don't want to cause undue restrictions. You do want to choose a bag that will allow as much water to flow through while still capturing what you need to capture.
And you don't want to use one of the really fine bags, for vacuuming up heavy leaves and heavy debris because it's fine. It's a delicate cloth, so you don't want to, rip up a $35 bag when you shouldn't.
With sticks and
when you should have used something more
And that was
coarse.
actually something we had a challenge with for a little while. We just recently overcame it with all of our finer bags because, again, we can run the finer microns consistently. All of the finer bags are now double bagged where we do a 400 micron over the outside of it. It's basically an exoskeleton for the finer cloths. And since we did that, we've put several hundred out as tests at this point. And the response has been 100% positive, not a single complaint. And it was funny because with our original bags, the cloth was holding up very well for a lot of people. Some people getting 7-8 months out of a bag, which is unheard of. It's crazy how long it was lasting. But other
Some
people
people
going
are
through
more
2
abusive.
pools, literally sometimes 2 pools.
Right.
And so we're literally looking at 2 pools or 8 months. And how do you get these 2 numbers to come closer together to be sure everybody gets a good fair shake and they get their money's worth out of these bags? And that is something that was actually a bit of a challenge. We experimented with all kinds of cloths and different things, but it was as simple as just plain doing a double layer bag.
Right. And what does that look like when you're all done vacuuming up the pool? Do you just bring the whole entire thing up? How are you not dumping all this material back when you're bringing it back up?
You actually leave it running and take the machine out of the pool.
The bag's going to flop over the front of the vacuum when you pull it up.
Which basically acts like a valve. It's a very, very rudimentary, simple valve. So you just, as you're pulling the machine towards you, you do it fast enough that it flops the bag over the front of the machine. It blocks off the path for anything to come out of the bag.
Okay.
And you just keep going, pull it out of the pool, and then shut the machine off after you remove it from the pool.
If you shut it off in the water, it's going to drop down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't necessarily. I mean, you could certainly do things to keep that from happening as well. But the easiest thing to do is just leave it running. As you draw the machine back towards you, to do it quick enough to cause that bag to flop over it. It's an incredibly effective valve, but it is something. It's actually a good question because it's something that people sometimes call us with because they do something a little off in their technique, and then they can have some back pressure, which as it purges, comes out of the water, it can just do a little puff of debris back out of it. So it's as simple as just draw the machine back quick enough that it flops over the front of it, pinches it off, and it will prevent that.
Right. And would that fine bag be good for vacuuming up dirt? Like if we have a pool that's covered in dirt, is that...
It's an interesting term, dirt.
Sand.
Everybody calls dirt different things. Dirt's different all across the country is what you learn.
And even sand. You guys in Arizona. We had a customer in Arizona. He bought several Riptides all at once and tried the 60 micron bags, which he said plugged instantly for him with your really fine sand. And he ended up, he said it was blowing through the 100 micron bag. So he ended up going with 75 micron bags, and he said they work unbelievably well.
And is that something you sell, or he got that from somewhere else?
No, we sell it.
Oh, okay.
So we do a pretty wide range. We do 60 micron, 100 micron is what we call standard. Below that, we have a 75 micron, and then we have a 60 micron. The micron, the smaller the number, the finer the bag. And then above the 100 micron, the standard bag is 200 micron. Then we have a 400 micron, and then we have a heavy net bag, which is about a 3/16 hole in a net. And then we have a fountain bag, which is the 100 micron cloth on a short bag, just so either if the bag fills up with sand, it won't get dragged on the ground, or if they're just in shallow water. A lot of people that are doing fountains need to, that's why we call it a fountain bag, they need to be able to vacuum without the bag just flopping down and getting sucked up into the machine.
Very good. And maybe you guys could just break down the overall cart itself, because it's a slick looking rig. Every time I see it, I'm like, damn, dude, that thing looks like a modified sweet BMX bike, with the
yeah. And it's funny because some people think some people buy the XP model, which is the one with the carrying battery box, because that's all they can really get into their yards. California has places like that are just so tight they can't possibly get a cart into them. Other people buy it because they don't have the money to go to spring for the cart, which is why we do financing on our website, and it does help a lot of people get through that right away and get the cart. But the cart drives a lot of the productivity, so to not get the cart is kind of a shame. It's the machine's not doing everything it's supposed to do. It's the whole idea is to drive productivity,
less trips back and forth to your truck, which all that
which
time
drives
adds up at the end of
productivity.
the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you could break down from top to bottom,
Yeah,
I mean, just getting people familiar
so the
with
cart's fully aluminum. It's E-coated aluminum, and then we powder coat over that. So E-coating is a process. They do it on car frames.
And that's something we actually just started doing this past year.
That in the past year.
We weren't happy with the way the powder coat was holding up.
So
what was
what
happening before?
powder coat.
It tends to, on aluminum, it tends to, you get a chip or something and it would just be enough to start it chipping, peeling off and failing. Basically, failure of the coating. So we went ahead and we got real serious about improving coating this past year. We invested in a brand new powder coat line. But that's really only half the battle. We had to figure out how we were going to treat the metal beforehand, and we bought blast cabinets that blast all sides at the same time. We can get a perfect profile in the aluminum now before coating. But the most important thing, that's an extremely important process as well, but we invested a lot into being able to e-coat these before we powder coat. So it's really a whole new animal with regards to how the powder coat holds up and
what e-coating is, for everybody that's not familiar, is they do it on car frames a lot to keep the frames from rotting out. So it's a submersion process. So the whole cart and all the tubing for it's getting dipped into a vat basically and dragged along, and it's an electrostatic coating, but it's coating the inside of the tubing, because powder coating, doesn't matter how much you spray, you're never going to coat the inside of a tube.
Well, not really inside the tubing, but every single nook and cranny
as well. Yeah. On the handlebars, it would coat the inside of the tubing. But it basically acts as a hardened primer, just giving something for the powder coat to really adhere to.
And as far as the cart goes, that's always been a big failure point for this type of machine, is because it's hollow tubing, of course, it's actually a very heavy wall hollow tubing. But the places that were failing the most, we went ahead and used solid aluminum rod. So we basically have a over an inch diameter solid aluminum rod where it goes into the transport rack and really takes the bulk of the abuse as these things are bouncing down the road. That has been a really positive thing. We've never had a single failure of the cart in that manner.
I never thought about that. This thing is cruising down the road, and it's you're on a rough road that's got holes in it.
Bouncing back there. Yeah.
There's never been one that's popped off?
Oh, yeah. People lose them from time to time. We try to get them to use safety pins all the time. If they get the cord stuck under the dog. So if you were to use the safety pin all the time, though, it ensures that the latch is properly closed and there's no way it can possibly come off.
Okay.
So everybody out there has a Riptide is thinking about it. Use your safety pin.
Use your safety pin, people.
Yes.
That ain't worth it, having that thing pop off and roll down the road. No way.
But some of the other features on the cart, it's got 2 storage bins. So like I said earlier, maximize your time. You don't want to be going back and forth to the cart, that 30 seconds here, 30 seconds there, that all adds up to real time at the end of the day. So you could carry your chemicals, you could carry your test kit. You're not taking those trips back and forth.
And just as importantly, those things are actually staying in the cart while you're transporting. So this thing, all you do is you hit a lever and the machine pivots down and is on the ground, or just drop it on the ground pretty much instantaneously. Within 10 seconds, that machine's off the back of the truck and you're pulling it towards the backyard.
Yeah, that's a really cool feature that you don't have to
it's
lift
not in the back of
your
truck, sliding around, and then you're trying to reach back there, jump back up in your truck to try to get it. So it makes it really, really convenient.
We were watching a video David Van Brunt did like a year ago, and it looks super easy, just kind of putting it on, taking it off.
Yeah,
that was one thing that we did on this also, is typically there's always been a mechanism that you had to hold the machine up with one hand. A lot of people hurt their backs doing it. Matter of fact, my wife, it hurt her back. Because you picture it, you're trying to hold it up, you're twisting and you're trying to reach and pull that lever. So we went ahead and designed this one so you can stand behind it square and you just lift it and it snaps in, it holds itself up there, and providing you snap it in all the way and that dog's down, it's not coming off.
It's pretty
Use
awesome.
your safety pin.
Right.
Well, the main thing with using the safety pin is this. It's not just about the dog not being able to pop off. It is the fact that it ensures the dog is all the way down, that you don't have something stuck underneath it, that you don't have something in the bin that's poking up and keeping the latch from coming down and locking the car on properly. Because the pin will not go in unless that dog is properly latched on.
Right. So what about the vacuum features itself? I mean, you've done some cool, like the debris guard, your stay out rollers, your steering knuckle. A lot of that is kind of newer. You guys have gone through.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Explain some of those features that you guys have taken time and
Now
put
you
into it.
talked about the step roller. That was on the original version.
That one is, yeah.
That was on the original version. We went ahead and did away with that because nobody was using it.
Oh, okay.
Matter of fact, most
know
people
that.
didn't even know it was there. They literally never used it. And we came to realize they were never using it because every time we saw one, it was never touched. It was never.
Sure.
It was obviously not getting any wear and tear.
I didn't know that.
So what we did is originally we had a pole coupler that we thought was the best thing in the world. And
It was a quick connect, so you could just, instead of using the V clips or the butterfly clips, was a system. You just take your pole, snap it on, and you'd have like a release lever right on it. It was slick. It was a cool setup.
yeah, and it still is. Honestly, we still sell it, but we don't include it with the units anymore. Actually, it still says it is online, so anybody that buys it, while it still says that, will get it if they want it. But a lot of people didn't want to use it. They didn't want to do anything different. They didn't want to. They just didn't want to go through the learning curve. Or in some cases, it really was impractical for them. A larger company, they can't get all their people on board with it. So at any rate, we redesigned. We came out with an incredibly heavy-duty steering knuckle.
It's all cast stainless steel, and now you could just hook your pole up. Just
with the old-fashioned pin setup.
Exactly, the same way you always have. So there's no special adapter anymore that you need.
In that pole coupler, the intention of it was this class of cleaner has always had a problem where it's a large machine compared to those pins were designed to hold a little homeowner type vacuum and a leaf rake. They were never designed or intended to hold this kind of machine, especially with a soft aluminum pole. So the poles tear out the holes constantly on these things. And with the pole coupler on there, it completely eliminates that tear out problem. So again, we thought it was going to be the best thing in the world, and absolutely everybody was going to go nuts about it. But the reality is that half the people did love it, and the other half the people absolutely hated it and didn't want anything to do with it. So we faced that reality as well, and redid the steering knuckle. It was the steering knuckle got kind of goofy to begin with because we had to do several different adapters and things. And again, this is why it's nice that we design everything in-house. We were able to pull a single component out on the computer screen and just start reworking it and reconfiguring it and designing it until we get it right. And
then we 3D print it and test it.
That makes a big difference.
Which
for
was
sure.
important because you have to check all your angles. You have to check to be sure that everything's functioning well. So the 3D printing these days is amazing for that. But at any rate, so the second version of the steering knuckle became, at first because we did all with add-ons and adapters and things like that, it became cumbersome still. It became large and kind of ridiculous looking. It was just
was ugly, I'll admit it.
It was ugly. I went to trade shows and we were like, oh my God, this thing's ugly. We've got to get rid of this.
That's why I said we take what we do, and we have a lot of pride in what we do. And whenever I look at that, I'm like, oh,
Why?
yeah, I'm like,
I
oh.
don't want to sell this thing.
I'm like,
It was a face palm.
I consider the Riptide my child, and I'm like, oh, you're ugly.
The one that got away.
I'm like, oh, like you've got a lot of pimples on your face now, child, going through puberty.
So I have two questions. I don't want to forget to ask them. One, is this unit loud at all? Does it have any sound?
No, not really. It's totally silent when it's in the water.
So you're in a
Matter of
backyard
fact,
early in the
even-
morning. It's not going to wake anybody up.
No.
You
okay.
can't hear it at all. Zero. It's just a electric motor that's turning in the water, and you really don't hear a darn thing.
Yeah.
Nice. The other one was: is there any pointers you can give for any kind of ongoing maintenance that anyone should know about? Like, you're taking care of this. This is an investment. This isn't cheap,
Yeah.
and it's gonna help you in a lot of different ways. But what is some ongoing things you need to be paying attention to, like after every time or weekly, monthly?
I would say weekly. You need to clean underneath your impeller. We have a debris guard under there that keeps hair and stringy debris from wrapping on the impeller shaft. Which
How
let's
do you
talk
get to
about
that?
that. That's
Yeah.
actually
That's been a
important.
big deal.
That's
Yeah.
a very big deal, and it's funny too because the first trade show we ever did was right here in Orlando, and everybody kept coming up to the Riptide and pulling the impeller off and saying, "Did you do anything to solve that problem with stuff wrapping on the shaft?" And we said no. I mean, we didn't even know it was a problem. We didn't even know the magnitude of the problem if we did know it was a problem. So within a matter of months, we saw motors starting to get ruined because of the hair, mainly hair. Human hair is the worst thing for it. It wraps on that shaft. It gets down inside the seals, and we started pulling apart motors that had failed. And there was deep grooves in the shaft, believe it or not,
I can remember
just from the human hair.
one case of a customer. He was local, so he came into the shop and And he's like, "Oh, I'm having a problem." And I'm like, "Well, did you clean underneath your impeller?" And he's like, "Yeah, I just did it." So I unscrewed the impeller, and there was so much debris. It was like a bird. It's like a rat was living
Oh, that's
under
the impeller?
thing. Yeah. I wanted to, I'm like, I wanted to say something. I'm like, oh yeah, you just cleaned underneath this.
So
huh?
how do you get to
Strange.
the impeller on this?
It's very simple. You can take it off in a
The
couple seconds.
the impeller is actually so
It's
our
right
car
where
is
you attach
designed
the
that it
bag.
holds the machine in a very ergonomic way with the
vacuum facing up.
vacuum facing up, where you can snap the bag right onto it. But right underneath where the bag snaps on is the impeller.
And it's just held on by a brass or a plastic nut, depending on when you purchased your unit. We're using brass now. It's brass
Yeah,
or
we
copper?
just recently developed a brass nut. It's
Yes,
funny,
brass.
it's the same thing. It's a simple little thing. The nut that holds the darn impeller on, you would think it's the simplest thing in the world, right? So the ones that the manufacturers of the motors supply is plastic, and the tabs tend to break off. And beyond that, though, it started getting kind of weird because you think that everybody knows you have to maintain under the air and you have to clean the shaft or whatever the case may be. So fortunately, the debris guard took care of cleaning the shaft problem. But every once in a while, a person does pull it off. They're not familiar with the machines, and they don't put the impeller back on properly. So then they put the nut back on, and now the impeller is not pinned to the shaft, so they start trying to take the nut back off actually they have to take the nut back off because the machine won't work because it's just free spinning in the water. And we actually had people that would have to cut their impeller off because they didn't put that pin in right, and the nut wouldn't come off. So we redeveloped the nut, as simple a component as it may be, with a hex on it, so you can put an impact gun on it if you had to. And even if you don't have your pin in it, it will pull it off. The pin, the flange, or the part where you put the pliers on it to pull it off, never break off. And we did also like acorn nuts, so that you don't get sand and debris inside the threads, and it always comes off smooth that way.
And it looks cool.
Man.
If somebody
And it
has
looks
an
cool.
older Riptide, is there like a rebuild kit or something that they can buy?
Yeah, and they can, like I tell everybody, all of our parts are available right on our website. And if you ever have any trouble, you just drop us an email. We'll send you a link to it, or, let you know what's up. But yeah, everything that we do is always it always retrofits. So we don't want to leave anybody out, even if that would mean, giving them another component so that it worked. We don't exclude anybody. We understand that, at $1,700 on the SL model, you're making a serious investment with us, and we're making a serious investment with you. We want to, be a team and grow together. We feel like, maybe you're only buying one Riptide today, but you're going to expand and grow your company, and you're going to need more. So we're going to have your back, and we want you to have our back too.
Right. And that's a very good statement. And the reality is originally when we started making these things, the idea of the SL car is we want everybody to unplug the car or the vacuum from the car every single time before they coil the cord up. Because when you coil the cord up, if it's tethered to the car and to the vacuum head, as you're coiling it, you end up with this constant twisting problem. And it ends up shorting out and breaking cords and causing lots of problems. So we always wanted the vacuum unplugged from the car every time before coiling it up. The problem was that all the plugs on the market that we could buy were failing like crazy. I mean, we could not keep a plug on these things. And that was another component. We sat down, and now, because the machine was basically solid, everything was good, we were able to just focus on this plug. So we designed our own plug. And since then, we went from a terrible failure rate on those original plugs to virtually no failure rate today. And if there is a failure, it's a simple part to go ahead and clean the contacts or do whatever has to be done. But where it was super important in our early formative years was, we actually, once we developed this fix, we produced control panels with this plug in it with a switch, pre-wired them, 2 bolts, the whole thing could be changed on the cart, and we developed that end that goes on the cord. And we actually gave every single customer that plug. Matter of fact, if anybody's out there, they have the original yellow plug. That's a free warranty, a free update that they can just reach out to us.
You get a whole, control panel, which has a switch and the contacts that actually bolts onto the cart, and then you get the end for your plug as well. So
Nice. And is there any kind of like maintenance like on the bags? Like how
so
long are these bags
the bag
supposed
is
to
a
last?
wear item, and I know Dave touched upon it earlier. Now that the bags are a double layer bag, so since we've been doing that, we're getting much longer life out of the bag. So the bag is a wear item that's expected.
But there really isn't
How do
any
you know
maintenance.
it's
you'll
reached
have
its-
holes in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you'll see debris start.
Oh, yeah,
kicking
you'll
out.
know.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
you'll
literally just wears out. You get holes in it,
Yeah. And we're expecting now with the double layer bags that everybody should be getting at least 4 months out of it. And I would say that's heavy use. Would you agree?
Yeah. I mean, we honestly, it's impossible to know.
It's
Our
impossible to know.
intentions,
You
our
can
intentions
you can
were
go
always
out and do anything. I mean,
Yeah.
it depends on how. If you're
I was trying to
determined,
ask
if you're
the difficult
determined,
questions
you
here
can.
that people
If you're
might
determined, you can break anything.
Yeah, in reality being, we don't really know. It's but the intention is to make sure everybody
Everybody gets
gets
a
at
fair
least 30
lifetime.
days. But if people were getting 7 or 8 months out of the original bag, they're probably gonna. Who knows what they're gonna get out of these things?
Yeah.
But it really is impossible to say. Are you sucking up sticks and driving them through the bag? Are you? I mean, it's impossible to know. Everybody's
Sure.
situation is
And,
different.
Any product.
And I know you're asking about maintenance. So now, another thing we're doing the past couple of months that we include a motor test cable and a contact cleaning brush. It's right in the box. So the motor test cable's just there. So,
Which is
a few
actually-
years down the road, if you have a problem, we give you all the tools to diagnose, what you have going on. And then you can just reach out to us. It makes it very easy. You could diagnose in a couple of minutes what you have going on.
And that actually brings up a very important point. So we started to talk about the Riptide and what we did different with the vacuum head. So we never really finished talking about that. The first thing that we did with that is we did a single piece rotational molded vacuum head. It's the same plastic and process they use to make kayaks. So it's made to be in the sun all day, every day. It's so thick, it's extremely rugged and durable. I mean, when you knock on this thing, it's solid. But it's also very flexible. You can drop it on coping and it just bounces. It means it just does nothing to it. We did ceramic ball bearings in the wheels on the vacuums. And interestingly enough, we have machines that have been on the road for over 3 years now, and we've never replaced a single wheel or a single bearing. You can walk up to any one of our machines that you see anywhere out in the country and spin the wheels. It's going to sound and look and spin just like a skateboard. And that's basically what it is. I mean, it's the same, it's like a high-end skateboard bearing, which is a solid ceramic bearing.
Love that analogy.
Right. You're talking to the right guys for skateboards.
I don't think Dave ever skateboarded a day in his life. I could be wrong, but I don't think he did much skateboarding on the farm.
He's right. Too many hills, too fast. It was too fast.
Too many wild animals out there.
So, but going further than that, as far as maintenance of these things go, we made it so that the cord separates from the motor. So when it's time for repairs, whether you need a cord or you need a motor, you're not forced to buy the unit together, and we're able to get the cost of each item way down. That has been hugely beneficial to the customers. And that's where Matt started talking about the motor test cable. So if a Riptide head was to go dead and you don't know what's wrong with it, you need to be able to diagnose and figure out what's going on with it. We designed this Riptide specifically so that everybody can do their own maintenance. There's no need to send it to anybody. You can literally, with this test cable, if your head was dead, you would simply unscrew the cord from the motor, plug this test cable in, test the motor independently from the cord. And if it works, you have a cord issue. If it doesn't work, you have a motor issue.
That's
and
awesome.
It's really as simple as that.
And I know a lot of companies say that their product is user serviceable. Ours truly is. A couple of hand tools. You can pull a motor out in 5-10 minutes. It's held in by 3 bolts. The whole control panel comes off. That's held on. That has all your wiring. That's held on by 2 bolts, and there's not that many wires on it. How many? Like 4 wires.
Well, that's in the back. There's only 2 that
Yeah.
apply to anything.
Yeah.
You just hook them up to the battery. So
Yeah, it's a very
literally
simple
a 10-minute
machine to
job to change a
diagnose
control
and work
panel.
on,
It's a 10-minute
and-
job to change a motor. It's a 10-minute job to change a cord. It's just
And,
very, very, very
It comes
user-friendly.
with a whole diagnostic guide and the user manual, and we're actually in the process where about a month ago we, filmed all these tutorial videos that are going to be on our website. So, tutorials for everything.
Oh, you have some that are going to be coming out?
Oh
that-
yeah.
Not yet, though?
Our whole website's is in the process of
being updated.
being updated.
That's really
Which
cool that you guys understand that.
If I actually had some time and I wasn't going to every
Trade
trade show in
show.
the country, it probably would be done by now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
the season's rough.
Yeah.
But that's cool that educating the people out there on the Riptide vacuum, so that if there's anything that ever happens, it sounds like it's pretty easy to be able to diagnose what's going on.
That was a big goal for us. Yeah.
We do it with customers right over the phone sometimes. Customers that are not that mechanically savvy, they give us a call, and there's nothing that we can't troubleshoot and get to the bottom of. I had a guy call the other day. It's funny too, because he calls and he said, "Boy, my machine's making all this weird noise," and so he said, I could hear it on the phone while he's on the phone with me. And I said, pull your impeller up. Your impeller pin's not lined up with the impeller itself. And he's like, really? You can tell that? And I said, check. So he takes it off and he looks and he said, damn, you're right. He puts the thing back together and it's perfectly quiet. So
you're gonna freak him out. He's like, you around here?
Yeah, you
got cameras on these things?
It was funny. It was really funny the way it all went down. But really, the whole thing is designed to be sure that these guys. It's funny. Like I said earlier, their productivity, our customers' productivity, goes through the roof when they get one of these things. And they cannot afford to be down. They really cannot afford to be down. So it's important that when they have a problem, they can fix it as quickly as humanly possible. More prudent customers will end up, when they get a little age on the machine, they're going to keep a cord on the shelf, a motor on the shelf, maybe even a whole control panel on the shelf, and then if they have to throw a switch at the old one or something. But no matter what, they're literally 10 minutes away from keep making sure that their machine's up and running.
I think it's a great marketing piece too. I feel like when I see any truck that has a Riptide vac on it, that they're like a real professional that is not messing around. Yeah. It's somebody that just cares about cleaning that.
Well, like pool. I tell everybody, if you hired a handyman and he showed up and he had a stick with a brick taped to it as a hammer, you're gonna feel confident about that guy working on your house. Or if a guy, you show up professional looking, it goes a long way, I think.
A lot of our customers have told us even that they actually market themselves as not using and abusing the customer's equipment, which I thought was an interesting angle. It was something I had never considered before. But they say that the customers actually respond to that. They seem to like that aspect of them showing up with a self-contained machine like this.
I don't know if just being honest, I don't know if I would pitch that to them. I would more like, I have the equipment to be able to vacuum this up. You know what I mean? Because we still want to clean that filter every 6 months to make sure that it's, right. Optimized. Because you still need to do that regardless if you're doing that. But, it's still like a...
Yeah, you might take away some of your other opportunities to make money if you sell them too hard on that. But
that's an awesome thing because you're not running that pool as hard as you have to. Like you said, you're having to sink a hose and you might be, bogging down the pump. This is like a unit that you can bring back there and you don't ever have to rely on their equipment. You don't know what's been going on since this time last week.
Exactly.
This is your rig that you're bringing into a backyard. You get to control the maintenance on it. If anything goes wrong and it's not sucking, something's going on, you already know what to do. On this equipment, you might not be the right person to go back there and, troubleshoot, the filter of the pump.
Exactly.
Yeah. It is interesting to see how people do approach different aspects of the business and the benefits that they get from it and how they perceive things and how professional they become in marketing their services. And I guess that's what separates people in the customers that they get.
Yeah,
I agree.
Absolutely. Anything else you want to touch base on the vacuum before we move on?
We talked about the cart earlier. Big and an incredibly important feature of that cart that was so important to me because I used to maintain the old system that my wife would use, and it was absolutely ridiculously difficult to work on the battery. To get it out of the cart and put it back in, I'd get so mad. Because I'm going out there 9 to 10 o'clock at night sometime to work on this thing. And it should be minutes to pull a battery out and work on it. And instead it would drive me wild. And I built this thing. So I'm a very mechanically inclined person.
I thought Dave was going to brag about how tall and strong he was.
You must have been mad. I was so mad I made a company.
I thought he was going to go, I'm 6 foot 5, 240 pounds.
I consider myself to be mechanically inclined, but I'm telling you, the batteries were so hard to work on these things. and it would chew up your knuckles trying to get them back in. And then just as you're getting them in, they fall down through the frame, and you have to pull them completely back out. So we designed ours with a spring rod, and you can literally slide the battery out onto the ground within 30 seconds, check your water, clean your terminals, do what you have to do, slide it back in, and slap that spring rod back on there. That is a simple little thing again, but it's so important to make these things user-friendly and to make things what they should be.
Well, you know what you can tell from the whole conversation is that you guys have really spent an enormous amount of time on all these small details, which I think, us understanding, we've looked at doing different products and doing different things. We understand how much time and detail and how much you guys spend on doing that kind of stuff. And I think that goes overlooked a lot of times by people that don't, if you're not a manufacturer, you don't
there's no way
understand the
anybody
process.
would appreciate that or understand that.
Some people do that. They can tell, the quality and the thought that goes behind it, because it's always funny from our customers. It always seems like there's one feature that they see that they like, that they latch on to
because they've had an issue in the past with something else.
That was what was their issue in the past. Yeah. So it's always funny, it could be the bags for somebody, or it could be the battery compartment for somebody else.
Their eyes light up like, oh
exactly.
my God,
They're like,
you solved my problem.
And we see that all the time. And it's a pretty cool, feeling, when we like, wow, we made this. We made their life a little bit easier, and
it just shows how smart you guys are, and you're actually listening to the customers, because you guys weren't out cleaning pools. I mean, like for years, to be able to be like, oh, this is every little
both
problem.
of us really never did pool cleaning professionally. My
pools.
Closest association with it was the fact that my wife did it, and I did do all of the maintenance on her machine though, and I saw the shortcomings. I was already doing product design, but this was a big endeavor. This wasn't something. Oh, I think I'll do this. This was, how long was it, Matt? 5 years at least.
I think it was
maybe
at least,
closer to 7.
I think closer to 7. But to touch upon it, where I was earlier, Dave's a thinker, so he's always looking at ways to improve something or make something better. And that's what he was trying to do, and I think we achieved that goal.
But you've taken the customers' feedback quite a bit. I mean, I know from the customers that we've talked to that use it, and from our previous conversations that we've had, I can tell that that's very valuable.
Well, a smart company would be at a trade show. That would be a big piece of it.
We actually love the customer feedback. Love it. Eat it up, because a lot of it you probably can't do too much with, but all it takes is that one utterance, something somebody tells you that really matters, and now you can incorporate it. Now you can start going in that direction. So we absolutely love to get that feedback and utilize it if we possibly can, if there's anything that we can do to make the product better.
Right.
Here's an interesting, again, on the car, simple little thing. When we started designing this thing, we wanted smooth tires for it. Seems like the simplest thing in the world, right?
You think you'd be able to go out and buy them, right?
So again, scoured the planet looking for a smooth kart tire that we could just buy. They didn't exist. Everybody has tread on their tires, but we didn't want tread, because when you pull the machine through the dirt just before you get up onto that deck, it's now loaded with dirt in the treads, and you put tracks all across the deck. So we actually had to go out and mold our own tires for this darn cart at a significant cost, of course, but we were committed to the concept of smooth tires, so we did.
They're solid, right?
They're solid.
They're solid, and
you'd be getting flats. I guarantee it.
Oh yeah, you'd be getting
right.
flats, and it would drive you crazy.
And so with the concept with the smooth tires, you just carry a rag with you and lean the cart forward and spin the tires, get all the mud off, and now you're not tracking it all across the deck, and you're not having to worry about cleaning it. Or if you have employees, you don't have to worry about your employees not cleaning it and getting the phone call from the customer saying there's mud all over my deck.
Right. That's crazy.
And it seems
cool.
like such a goofy thing, right? You would not think.
We don't think that.
Yeah, you just wouldn't think it would be such a pain in the neck.
That's what's fun about the podcast. You just get to hear pieces like that you guys just talk about, and that's what I enjoy most about it, is just getting these little bits of information that you remember, and you're like, oh yeah, this is what we did, and it's cool to hear those backstories for sure about how the products were developed. At least to my next question, really, but you guys selling direct to customers. I know part of the reason why, but why did you choose to take that route?
It was the only way that I knew for a fact that we could provide the best customer service in the industry. There's no middleman. There's no hoops to jump through. You call our 800 number, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, Eastern time. We're going to answer that phone. We're going to have the answers that you need. We're going to, there's nothing we haven't heard or encountered yet that we can't figure out.
And if you need a part, like I said, these people are going to rely on this machine so much. They can't afford to go to a distributor who forgets to make the phone call, who doesn't have the part in their inventory system or whatever the case may be.
So now they have to special order it.
And we hear nightmares now of our competition, the people using their machines and not getting parts for weeks.
You have parts for us the next day.
And I don't think it's the manufacturer's fault necessarily. I think it's the supply chain. So to be fair, it's the supply chain. And we thought originally that we were going to go through distribution, and it became evident very quickly that we could not uphold the service and quality that we expect to supply our customers. And never mind the fact, the technical aspect of it, as simple as the machine is, somebody still has to be capable of helping these customers, at least get them through the learning curve of whatever it may be. Obviously, once you know something, it's always easy. But sometimes you need a little of assistance, and we cannot have our customers, our people using our product, walk into a store and get an indifferent attitude from a person sitting behind a desk.
Yeah, we are, a customer service company as much as we are a pool vacuum company. Like I said earlier, if you're buying from us, we're investing in you and you're investing in us. That's what we believe in. We're going to have your back. So there's no way you'd be able to do that through distribution.
Right. That's a really cool way to look at it, for sure.
Yeah, and we love it. I love talking to our customers. I love getting the feedback. I love that personal touch that we can provide.
And that's cool that you have, a database, not to get too technical, but a database of, past customers' information so that you can figure out, like, email them all and say, hey, do you have any suggestions? How do you like this? Here's some new retrofitted, equipment. Like, you can't really do that if you're selling, to the masses through distribution.
You have no idea who has
Well, you know what?
product.
Yeah, and that's so important. You're right, because we actually have people, especially when we first changed that plug and we were having that plug failure problem. We would have people call up and order bags, for instance. We'd quickly run the history and we'd see that they got a machine within a certain date range and say, hey, you got a yellow plug on your machine and we have a update for that. It's a free update. We're going to send you the parts.
Yeah, and people will be like, well, do I need it? I'm having a problem. And we're like, yeah, but we're going to give it to you. So when you do have a problem, now you're not down. You already have the parts.
On top of that, typically if you buy through distribution, you buy through a distributor somewhere, you have to register the product to get a warranty. You have to jump through hoops, which a lot of people never do. I know I buy a lot of hand tools that supposedly have a lifetime warranty if you just register them, and I never register them.
Right.
They're banking on you to do
They
that.
don't want you
I
to.
never do it, and I know that they're banking on it, and I just can't bring myself to register. And I have registered different things throughout time, and I can't remember where or how or what I just don't know. But with us, every one of our customers can call in. We can look them up. We can see if they have a warranty. And, with us too, if anything, we are guilty of over-warrantying. We don't really care that it's a year warranty. We
care about making it right at the end of the day.
If we know that there was a problem with something, it's not about the time period. It was a problem, it gets fixed for free, period. We send them that part out. And you can read online. People talk about that. They know that that's what we do. And it's the right thing to do for customers. We're not looking to arbitrarily hit a fictional date and not be responsible for something. If we did have a failure, we definitely don't want to sell people. We actually have people that will order a part sometimes on the internet, and we'll look up in the system and we'll see what the age of the machine was and say that's a warranty item. So we'll refund them the money, give them a call, and let them know that we refunded them and this part's coming out for free.
And most of the times in that situation, it's because the part's been updated.
Yeah. Well, that's a big customer service move. I mean, you're trying to keep those customers for life.
That's the thing. It's we make the customer happy. What's he going to do? He's going to go out and tell everybody at his supply house, which he's already going to anyways,
right.
his distribution center to buy his chems. Somebody's going to come up to him and say, hey, how do you like that vacuum? Oh, they're great. So if we take care of the customer, they're going to take care of us.
Right.
Facebook group.
Yeah.
They're all over that now.
That's where you can get all your, FAQs.
Well, you mentioned financing earlier. If someone needs to do that or wants to do that, how would they go about doing
It's
that?
very simple. So we work with a company called Affirm. You've probably seen them on other websites. Pretty massive company in the world of internet financing. You could get pre-qualified literally. I used it the other day to buy a mattress, myself online. It took all of 10 seconds. It was actually, I was pretty impressed because I've never actually gone through the whole process myself.
Right.
So I was like, I'm like, I'm going to try to buy it with Affirm because let me see how this goes.
Sure.
And I was blown away how quick it is. So on our website, you would just click, there's a button. It says pre-qualify now. You put in your cell phone number. I think they text you a code, and then all they ask for is the last 4 digits of your social. There's no hard credit check. And they're going to come back, right away with the terms.
Yeah, it's amazing. People think they're going to have to fill out a form or something, a real questionnaire, but it's not. It's literally
blows my mind.
What is it? A social security number? Oh no, not even social security
last
number.
Last 4 digits.
Yeah. What else?
And your date of birth. That's it.
Believe it or not,
No, they know
that easy.
everything. I don't know. It's scary.
And they can actually do it in 10 seconds.
And it's actually
incredible.
funny. It's like they know if it's your phone that you're using or not. Like if you tried to use somebody else's phone.
Yeah, we originally made the mistake of trying to help a customer, and they immediately called us and
they're
said,
like,
if you
"You
ever
can't
do
do
that
that."
again, we're pulling it.
Yeah,
You can't use it.
I'm like,
Really?
oh, wow.
We didn't even know it wasn't allowed, but
I'm
we
like,
should have
do you
read
have
the
cameras in
the
my
rules.
office? But we also offer, a big thing is 0% financing right on our website. So that's actually a really
And that's
big thing
actually a
that we do.
great way for customers to break into this thing. It's 0% financing. Even if they do have the money sitting there ready to go, it's 0% financing. There's no sense really strapping themselves. Take advantage of that. It's a great way to go ahead and get the machine and not be strapped whatsoever.
And what's usually the turnaround if, like, say we're on the West Coast or Arizona? How long before we would get one of these?
For a vacuum, it'd be to the West Coast about 5 business days.
Okay.
For parts, we can get it there however fast you need it. You need it next day, if it's a warranty thing, or a lot of our parts or bags ship out priority mail, which is 2-day service.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we keep everything in stock. There's not a single nut or bolt or piece of
That
part
we don't have.
that we would not have in stock that we can't get out. I mean, everything can go out that day.
Yeah, it's a very big thing for us. We don't want any back orders or anything not in stock ever.
It's interesting too, because sometimes customers' their old machines go dead or whatever the case may be. So whatever they were using, now they want to try a Riptide. So they'll call up and they're panicking because they don't have a machine. And we happen to be straight across the street from UPS, and they close late. What time do they?
I think they close at like 8, so I can literally
So as
see
long
like
as they tell us look,
Yeah.
that they're really in trouble, they need this. Anybody in Florida, certainly, we get it over there, and they'll have it the next day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we literally just put it on a little hand truck dolly and walk it across the street and drop it off.
Yeah, it's so convenient. I love that place.
And I know we
that's
talked
awesome.
about this a little bit, but these all come with a 10-year warranty, correct?
So the case,
No.
the case, the plastic housing has a 10-year warranty.
Okay.
Everything else has a 1-year warranty. So the motor,
We do
the
that
core,
because we're trying to prove to the industry that we solved the problem. There's always been a problem with this class of cleaner where the cases just don't hold up. And we're trying to prove to the community that we solved that problem. So we do a 10-year warranty on the vacuum case itself, and the rest is 1 year.
Okay, cool. And what does that process look like? Pretty much when somebody buys it, is that them registering for it, or are they still
Yeah.
Yeah,
filling
again,
out?
because we sell direct 99% of the time, we have a record of that sale. We can look it up. Beyond that, honestly, as long as they can prove to us that they have a failure and
ear on the side of make the customer happy.
yeah, we've only seen a
gonna
few
be like,
cases
hey,
get
you're a month
broken.
out of warranty,
I'm actually shocked that anybody could ever break one of these cases because they're so ridiculously durable. But some people, we've had people drive over them with their truck. Literally, they had the battery box unit. They put it down behind the truck and drive over it and just crush it. but we still warranted the case.
Damn.
Yeah. We said, hey, you're having a bad day, so we'll help you out.
Very good. Thanks, guys. And where can people get more information about you guys and Riptide?
So riptidevac.com, our Instagram's RiptideVac, our Facebook is RiptideVac. Our phone number, 800 735-3029. Sales at riptidevac.com. We're easy to get a hold of. I pride myself on how easy we are to get a hold of, and we're not hiding somewhere.
Right. And you guys are, is there any other trade shows besides the one here in Florida going on that you're going to be at soon? You guys going to be in Long Beach?
Yep, we'll be in Long Beach. Love the Long Beach show, yeah. Love that area of the country.
Oh, yeah.
show.
That's a sweet show. That's
It's a big service show.
Our
I'm sure
favorites
that's
for sure.
popular for
We
you
love
guys.
the California shows in
Yeah.
general. We go up to Monterey, and it's a tiny show,
man.
but it's
Monterey's
just
my
such a
favorite
darn
town.
nice place that we go. I think
I
if
feel
two
like it's a
people showed up,
vacation.
we'd go there.
I love the Long Beach show because it starts at, late at night. Like, I think it's like
6:30 or something. Yeah.
So I'm like, I've got the whole day in California. This isn't going to be so bad.
Right. So is there any, books or podcasts or anything like that that's had any kind of impact on your guys' life?
A book I've read recently, the past year, is called Rework. I don't know if you guys have read it.
That's the base camp.
Yeah,
book.
base camp book.
Yep.
Yeah, basically meetings are useless, planning is dumb.
Yeah.
And it's a very simple
you know?
book because that's the last book I read too because we were sitting next to each other
Instead
on the
of playing, I was
plane.
like, Dave,
And it
you
was
gotta read
so
this book.
easy. We both read it before we landed.
Yeah, yeah, we don't read so good. But no, it sounds weird to say that stuff, but it's true. It's like you could plan all day long, but if you don't actually go out there and do it, you don't know what's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
And you got to execute the plan.
Yeah,
for sure.
you gotta.
There's
we
a
could talk
podcast.
and
They have a
talk and talk
podcast
and-
too called Rework.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. As far as podcasts I listen to, I'm a big Planet Money fan. Just love to hear about other businesses and the way things work out there. So
There are some great podcasts out there. I have to get used to this microphone thing. Sorry, Matt.
yeah.
Do you have any books or podcasts that you like?
I don't read a whole lot, to be honest with you. Most reading that I do is it's technical stuff.
Manuals?
I can't stand reading stories or novels or any of that. Useless to me. I've never been able to get into it.
Basically, I keep Dave locked in his office in front of the computer and the CAD. And I'll slide food. I'll slide food under the door. I'm like, you sit and design. That's my job.
He just built me a new computer at my house. You should see it. They got this 49-inch monitor. It's
Widescreen. Yeah.
Oh, those things are amazing.
That's
Trying to
pretty
get you to do
awesome.
more work, huh?
That's what I do. I
Make it
do it
more
all under the
productive.
guise of productivity. I'm like, yeah, Dave, this will make you more productive. Get in there.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you guys so much for taking the time to be with us on the show. We really appreciate it. We think that this was a really fun and very educational episode. So, it's good being here in Florida. We appreciate you guys.
Hey,
Thank you, guys. It's if we can be any assistance, give us a call, and we'd be happy to help anybody out that needs us.
It's
This
been
was
really
a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's been really cool to watch, to listen to your ideas and see you guys, the sparkle in your eyes and like light up when you're talking about it. It's something you don't get to see a lot, and you can tell that you really enjoy what you do, and that's a big deal because we were talking earlier about the system teaches you that you should know what you should do in high school, and a lot of times that's difficult when you find something you love. Like you can really, we're sitting across from you two, watching you talk. I can see it in your eyes.
Yeah,
that you really have a passion
it
for
is amazing. They expect you to figure out what you want to do by the time you leave high school.
I had no idea what I wanted to do, and I would never want to do anything else.
I was 50
if
before
Riptide
I
went
figured it
under,
out.
I don't think I could go back to ever doing anything else. I'd have to go live under a bridge or something. Nothing I do would placate me.
Well, you've poured your time and money and efforts, and your passion into it. We can see that. So
It shows.
Thank you very much.
One of the best things about it too is I've never done anything in my life where we reach out and work with so many great people. Doing the shows is a lot of fun. Usually we get a lot of customers we hook up with, and we take them to dinner at these shows, and that's a lot of fun even.
Yeah.
And never really experienced that before, but it's a lot of fun to get out there and
A lot of good people.
truly
in this
visit
industry.
with your customers and take advantage of that opportunity to get together.
Yeah.
Very good.
Cool. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for checking out this episode. As promised, the guys at Riptide have provided a special discount for our listeners. Just enter the code POOLCHASERS at checkout for free shipping, 1 ultrafine bag, and 1 course bag. If you want to find out more about our guest or the sponsors of the show, please check out the link in the write-up below.
See you out there, pool chasers.